Hello Miracle Fighters and welcome back to our channel. It's Peter and today I'm joined by
Roxy.
Yes, and as you can see from the title as well as the screen here, we'll be doing a deck profile for Roxy's Aqua Blue Wings Revonn deck. So this is a really delayed deck profile, but let's get right into it. So Roxy actually had this deck for quite a while already, but we've never done a deck profile for it. However, given that since Aqua is getting new support very soon, we decided to just do one for it before the build changes and before we get more reviews of upcoming Aqua cards. By the time we're recording this video, we already know that we've already seen the new Maelstrom support cards and they look pretty decent. So, yep. So the Revonn deck is basically the newest and arguably the strongest Aqua deck now before Savas and Lambros comes back. There are two main builds for the deck. The first one is the pure Revonn build that uses all the good stuff cards, all the good grade 2s for Aqua Force, like Coral Assault and Nerissa. I meant normal units, not just grade 2s. And then there's the other one, which is the one that Roxy is going to show off today, and that's the Blue Wings, the one that uses the Blue Wings engine. So, the one that Roxy is going to show off today is actually the more budget version, right? Because majority of the deck consists of just commons and rares because those are the Blue Wings cards. Okay, so just a little background information before we get into the actual list. The pure Revonn build plays more high rarity cards, hit for higher numbers, while the budget Revonn build, this one, the Blue Wings one, has slightly better field consistency, more deck thinning, as well as an interesting new mechanic. So Blue Wings, basically there are a series of cards that came out with Glory Maelstrom in I forgot the name of the set, right? And all of them basically have the unique feature to stand themselves when you check a heal trigger during your drive check, meaning that they count heal triggers as stand triggers as well, and that's pretty good because stand triggers are non-existent in standard. However, when Blue Wings first came out, they didn't have any grade 3 Blue Wings, because that would be a little too strong. Imagine a grade 3 Vanguard that can reset itself if it checks a heal trigger, right? And so they were not really played. The deck felt really incomplete. So sometimes they were mixed in with the Glory Maelstrom deck, but they sort of still needed a boss that really gels more with them. And they needed a Vanguard that attacks after all the Blue Wings Rearguards have attacked. So they needed a Vanguard that can attack last, because then you can possibly stand all of the Blue Wings Rearguards, right? It's just better synergy with the Blue Wings cards. So Glory Maelstrom doesn't really want to attack last. In fact, Glory Maelstrom, I feel like it wants to attack in one of the first few attacks so that you can check front and power up all your attacks, make them really hard to guard. So in that sense, Glory Maelstrom doesn't really work well with the Blue Wings cards. But then we have Team Dragon's Vanity, and we're introduced to Last Card Revonn, V-Series version. This card made Blue Wings actually playable for a while and pretty decent for a budget deck. So let's jump right into the deck and let's have a look at Revonn's ability. Right, so Roxy will be explaining the effect. Okay, so
First let's take a look at Revonn's skill. So there are two abilities. The first one is that you can rest one of your rear guards and your opponent's Vanguard loses 5,000 power until end of turn. So basically with this effect, you're giving all your attackers plus 5,000 power this turn, and this is especially strong in a clan like Aqua Force, which has access to multi-attacks and thus can force more cards from your opponent's hand for guarding. And minus 5,000 power also make it such that damage triggers don't hurt the deck as much as well. Revonn also has a second attack, which is effect, which is when it attacks, if you have 5 or more rested rear guards, until end of turn, it gets plus 15,000 power, plus 1 drive, so it has triple drive. Furthermore, if my soul has a grade 3 unit, it also gets 1 critical. So basically, if it fulfills all conditions, Revonn gets powered up in all possible ways, which is power, crits, and drives. Having 5 or more rested rear guards may sound challenging to achieve, and it's kind of true, but don't forget a Cell 2, which gives you a free unit the turn you ride Revonn. Plus, the Blue Wings engine actually also has ways to get rear guards from the deck. The difficult part is actually ensuring that you don't have to commit so much every turn, and that means maintaining your field. Once again, Blue Wings also have cards that do that, which we will be showing off really soon.
Yes, the great ones especially.
So overall, you don't have to worry about not being able to meet the conditions, because most of the time you will have no problem. Not to mention, the +1 drive also helps to build your hand size up. Most of the time, your opponents will either take for Revonn or nullify its attack if he is hitting for 2 crits, because combined with the -5000 effect, Revonn can be hitting for quite high and it can be quite hard to guard considering you have triple drive. So not only that, Revonn's skill of increasing drive checks also supports the playstyle of Blue Wings, in that it increases the chances of checking a heal trigger, which can trigger the withstand ability of the Blue Wings and continue the attacks. So yep, that's Revonn, which is a really solid card that gives you a strong turn from your first grade 3 turn onwards.
Okay, and that's Revonn, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next grade 3, and that is
Fourth Vessel Dragon.
which Roxy plays at 2 copies in the deck. So his effect is
It has 2 effects. The first one is that when it's placed on Vanguard Circle, you can +1 your opponent's Vanguard with -5000 power. And second skill is a rearguard skill, which is if you have 4 or more rested rearguards and your Vanguard is Revonn, this unit cannot be retired by opponent's card effects, which stops control, and it also gets +5000 power, making it a 17,000 attacker, which against like most Vanguards, which are 7,000 if you use Revonn's skill, then this will be a trigger guard, which is quite hard to guard. So it's kind of a backup Vanguard, because you can still use Revonn's first ability, but it costs Calm Blast instead, which isn't a really scarce resource. And the only thing is that you will lose out on the power on drive, and the skill is only on place, so it kind of like stalls out until you get Revonn.
yeah, stalls the turn, right? Stalls the game until you get Revonn, but only for 1 turn.
Oh yeah, and the second skill is also continuous, which makes it a 17k base even on your opponent's turn, which makes it even harder to destroy, considering that
Retire
your
it,
opponent cannot
yeah,
retire it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yep, that's Fourth Vessel, and the deck basically just plays 6 grade 3s. You really only want to be riding Revonn, but this is just a backup in case, and it really hurts if you only play 4 grade 3s and you miss your G assist. Yeah. So backup is just backup lah. So 6 grade 3s, and let's move on to the grade 2s.
Okay, so for grade 2s, I'm playing 12 of them. So starting off, we have 4 of Blue Wings of Obduracy, Simeon. So Simeon is your best right target because of his 11k base, which can guard against false Vanguards and like your opponent's rush turn.
Yep.
And it also is able to withstand even on the Vanguard Circle if you check a heal. However, it has a restriction, which is that if you don't have another Blue Wings unit, this will -5000 power, but honestly it's not too hard to meet that restriction, because you have cards that can protect themselves on your opponent's turn. And the thing about Simeon having an 11k base is that because for Blue Wings there's quite a lot of grade 1s that's 7k base, so 11k plus 7k will give you 18,000, which is a magic number against all Vanguards except for grade 4s.
Yeah, against most Vanguards, or false Vanguards, right?
Okay.
So yep, that's Simeon, 4 copies. Next up we have
Blue Wings of Great Cause, Phelios.
yes, Phalos.
Okay, so this is the other grade 2 Blue Wings unit. So his first skill is basically the same as all the other Blue Wings unit, which is to withstand itself if you get a heal trigger. And the second skill is that when it attacks a Vanguard, if you have another unit in the with Blue Wings in its name, you can counter +1, so +1 to give it 5,000 power. But if you have 4 or more other Blue Wings instead, you can choose to withstand itself.
Yeah.
So this is like a withstander
It's basically the withstander
for Blue Wings. And the thing about Blue Wings is that usually, there are only, effects are usually like if you have another unit or if you have 4 or more units. So it's better to have 2 or 5 units of Blue Wings on the field to like meet the best requirements without having to commit too much.
Yep, that's it's just math. Right?
Yeah, okay.
So that's Phalos, really useful card. And then for the final grade 2, there's also 4 copies of, and that is
Blue Wave Marine General Gilius.
Yeah.
So this guy is a Blue Wave, so he's not one of the Blue Wing support, but he's kind of like a must play for Revonn because he is a resender and he's also 14k, which like it's quite hard to guard against,
Yep.
especially if you have a booster.
So it doesn't hurt having like 2 different types of resenders in a deck, and his resend is really easy. I think it's worded very vaguely as well, so it can even activate if opponent checks like a damage trigger. Right, because just when your opponent's Vanguard's current power is different, so it's quite fun. Right.
And the deck doesn't really use Counterblast, so you can like use the Counterblast for him instead.
Yeah. The thing about the Blue Wings deck is that it's quite light on resources, or rather Revonn. Revonn is quite light on resources, so you can afford to use the Counterblasts and Soul Blast for the Blue Wings engine. And of course cards like Gallios. That's it for the grade 2s, 12 grade 2s. Okay, can we move on?
So now we have 15 grade 1, so this is quite a number because we have the space due to the lower number of grade 3s. So the first grade 1 will be your Blue Wings of Resonance Meteors at 4 copies.
Meteors, yes.
Yeah, Meteors is a 7k base grade 1, but it can hit really high. So its first skill is the same. And the second skill is that if you have another unit with Blue Wings, it gets 5,000 power. And if you have 4 or more other units with Blue Wings, it gets 10,000 power. So effectively, it could hit by 17,000 on its own, which is quite strong. And especially if you pair him up with Simeon, that's a 28k column. And if your opponent's Vanguard is 8k, that's at least 2 cards to guard.
And the reason your opponent's Vanguard is 8k is because Revonn minuses 5k from your opponent's Vanguard.
Yeah, so in a sense, you can actually play less grade 2s because this guy hits as high as a grade 2.
In fact,
yeah,
it can
higher.
even hit higher, right? Then,
So it's quite a
grade
good
2s.
attacker and booster. So you wouldn't want to put him. So usually for Revonn, what I'll do is I'll put the card that I want to rest and behind the Vanguard because Revonn himself gets 15,000 power. So there's not much incentive to power out Revonn, but rather I'll put my rear guards at like other places.
Yeah, have like higher rear guard columns, right?
Especially because if you restand, you wouldn't want to be restanding this behind your Vanguard. So, okay.
So yep, that's Meteors, if I'm not wrong. Okay, and then next.
The next card will be Blue Wings of Empathy, Macarius.
Which is at 4 copies as well.
Yeah. So Macarius' skill is that the first skill is the same. Second skill is if you have another unit with Blue Wings, this unit cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. And if you have 4 or more other Blue Wings, all of your rear guards cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects. So essentially, it can protect like even other units like Gallius or like Fort Vessel, those kind of cards which don't even have Blue Wings in its name. And this is like a really strong card for Revonn because it protects against control.
Yep, and Revonn, is a deck that really relies on their rear guards. So having this card out on the field basically grants them immunity, and it's pretty good against the control. Makes the deck like not lose that much to control matchups. I think this effect will also be pretty useful against the upcoming Mega Colony Cradle Marker thing, right? And a lot of cards, like a lot of control clans actually chooses in Cardfight Vanguard, except for maybe I think there are only like 2 main ones that don't choose, which are Hyuga and Gauntlet Buster Dragon. So for those games, his effectiveness goes down, but apart from that, against Kagero Spot Retires, against Link Jokers, Vanish Deletes, this guy does the job.
Okay, so for now So now we're gonna have our last Blue Wings, which is 4 copies of Blue Wings of Faith Basila. So this card is basically something that can round up the deck. So she's the main contributor to the Blue Wings engine. Her skill is when placed, and counters 1 and look at top 3 cards and add as many Blue Wings as you want to your hand and shuffle your deck. So what Basila does is basically to fish out Blue Wings from the deck, which makes it more consistent because you're able to search for cards from the deck. And the fact that there's 20 Blue Wings, which makes it a high proportion of the deck, which means that you're probably gonna get at least 1 or 2 in the top 3 cards. And the thing is, even if you get triggers in your top 3 cards, you can still shuffle your deck, which makes it a really good risk.
Makes it not that risky, right?
Yeah.
She can even give you a +3 if you reveal all Blue Wings, and if you don't reveal any, you still get a good shuffle, right? Which is not too bad as well. So yeah, Basila is a really good card that just ties up the whole deck in general. And she's also one of the reasons why we want to play, why Roxy is maxing out on all the Blue Wings, 4 copies, to increase the chances of getting at least 1 Blue Wings card off her skill. It's really good. And the final grade 1.
3 copies of
Baragios, yes. That's his full name. The Soldier Senior.
Yeah. So his first skill is just 13k if you are using Revonn's engine. And second skill is just those kind of normal grade 3 searches. And this card is quite important because like you only want to ride Revonn per se, and like there's only 4 copies of him, so it's going to be quite hard to draw him every single game. Yeah, so Baragios kind of like maintains the consistency of drawing Revonn. Yeah.
It ups the consistency, right?
Yeah, and it's quite a good attacker to 13,000, so it's nice.
Yeah, and all these effects, right, that whatever 4 or more rear guards being rested, his effect and Gali's effects are very easy to accomplish if you're playing Revonn, because you want to attack with all the rear guards first.
Okay.
So that's all for the great ones. Very beautiful lineup. And we are pretty much done for the normal units. Let's get on to the triggers.
So the triggers is quite simple. It's just 4 heals, which you definitely need if you're playing Blue Wings.
This is the ultimate trigger for the Blue Wings deck.
So your heals basically acts as a stand trigger for like 20 cards in the deck. So you can see this, the heals is very strong.
Very, very strong trigger. Next.
And then you have 4 PGs, which 4 PG draws and 1 normal draw. So the normal draw is to like try to, because you need pieces for this deck, you need to be able to hit your field as early as possible, which is like preferably your first crit turn, and you kind of need to draw into Revonn every game too. So you have 5 draws to like hit this consistency. And anyways, Revonn's second skill allows him to get a crit, so you don't actually need to play so many crits. Yeah, and so the last...
And this draw, right, this 1 draw, can be really good fodder for Revonn's. If you draw into your hand, right, you just pop it behind Revonn, and you can always use it as a target for Revonn's ability to rest and minus 5k from your opponent's Vanguard. So it's really good. And Pascal is very much needed because it's PG, and right now there are a lot of strong 4-6 around.
And it's also quite easy to hit the discard cost for the PGs because Revonn essentially gives you an extra drive every turn.
Yeah, extra card basically.
Okay, so for
round things
the
off,
crits,
things
it's
up.
7 crits. Yeah, so for Revonn you wouldn't be playing France because your Vanguard will be hitting for pretty much the last attack or second last.
For the same reason that I mentioned, right? It's why Glory Mission wants France, but this deck the focus is different. The Vanguard's attacking last, France are less effective. Unless you can guarantee a heal every drive check, which obviously no. So crits actually work better. And this deck is very rush based, I feel. Right, Revonn is very rush based, so having more crits helps you to deal damage early. If you check them early game, then can deal damage early. They have less space, less room to take damage from the grade 3 turns onwards. So less chances of defensives and make a Revonn turns much more scary. So just like crits are just effective like that. That's pretty much it for the deck. Unlike our other Cardfight Vanguard decks, I feel like the deck doesn't really have that many alternatives to go to, and that is because it's a Blue Wings deck.
It's an archetype base.
And you really only want to be playing Blue Wings, and Barragios and Galleys are still too good to be replaced. We'll see for the upcoming Aquaforce support what maybe better support cards for Aquaforce there will be, right? But for now, I feel like the deck is just set like that if you're playing Blue Wings with Revonn. Okay, so overall, any last thoughts about the deck?
It's not that hard deck to play, it's just you just need to be careful with how you order your columns. So basically what I usually want to do is to call if I have Basila early, then I'll call her under the Vanguard because she's 7k and she isn't really a good boost target. Basila is 7k.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she isn't a really good boost target because you have better cards like Macarios, which is at least 8k base. Mad Shells is 17k, and Barragios can be 13k. So Basila will be your best target, so I'll put her under the Vanguard. And then anyways, if you ride Simeon, her boosting Simeon will be an 18k column which can hit against grade 1s very well. And so for the other, so you will reserve your other boosting units for your grade 1s. And anyways, if you are playing 15 grade 1s, it's actually quite easy to guard because your shield value of the deck goes up.
Yes. So overall, this is a really interesting and still a pretty strong budget deck that we can build. The deck actually doesn't really cost much. The only like major high rarity cards or expensive cards would be your VR, obviously Revonn, Gallias, as well as Degree 3 Searcher, Barragios. The rest of the deck is just like double res and below, and Blue Wings cards are very cheap because they are not like very splashable cards, so they're not really highly sought after. As I've mentioned, they are an archetype based deck. They are an archetype. Their skills are all like pretty much archetype based, so I think it's very easy to get them for cheap. Places of the Blue Wings cards for cheap, and you can actually form this deck. If you already have the foils, you can actually form the deck very easily. You don't have to spend too much on the deck, and the deck is still very strong. Of course, it's not as dominating as when it first came out, but the deck is still a very good deck for a budget deck, right? And this is the Blue Wings variant. There's the other one, the one that hits for even higher numbers because you have Narissa and Coral Assault, right? That's the other one, but the other one doesn't have like a sneaky huge trigger plays that you can do with the Blue Wings cards, giving you even more attacks. I feel like both are not too bad against the control matchup because the other one, Coral Assault, can always easily go into the soul to draw cards. But for this one, you can always maintain like a gigantic field as long as you have Macarios up and your opponent is not playing Gauntlet Buster or Hyuga, which I think are not that
popular anymore.
Not that popular anymore. Yasue is more popular in Yasue choosers. For Eradicators, Vanquisher choosers. His support card choosers. So there's that as well. So this Revonn, really excited to see whether the Revonn deck will still get like support. Yeah. Will Blue Wings still get support? We don't know. But if it does still get support, Basili will be really strong. So I think Busho may not be that willing to give Blue Wings too many like good cards. But that's basically it for the deck. Hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. This I think is the first time that Roxy is doing most of the talking for the deck profile. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys liked the deck. It's a bit outdated, but it can still be a very fun budget and casual deck that you guys can pick up and play for Aquaforce. Alright, see you guys in the next video. Bye guys.